ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ ਟੈਲੀਵਿਜ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੰਜੀਵ ਤਵਨ ਦਾ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਨਮਸਕਾਰ, ਆਦਾਬ। ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਨਿੱਘਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ। ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੋ-ਹੋਸਟ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਦੇਵ ਕਪਿਲ ਜੀ। ਸੋ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ, ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਨਿੱਘਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ।
2019 ਦੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਕੰਪੇਨ ਪੱਕ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਹੈ। ਲੀਡਰ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤਾਂਬੜ-ਤੋੜ ਹਮਲੇ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ ਔਰ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੋਟਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਰਗਲਾਉਣ ਦੀ, ਵੋਟਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਟਰੈਕਟ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ। ਉਹ ਵਾਅਦੇ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਪੂਰੇ ਕਰਨਗੇ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਜਿੱਤ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਹੀ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੇਗਾ। ਪਰ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਵਿਸ਼ੇਸ਼ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ 4 ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਪਾਰਟੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਸ਼ਾਮਿਲ ਹਨ। ਮੋਸਟ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਟੌਪਿਕਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਡਿਸਕਸ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ, ਅਫੋਰਡੇਬਲ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਹੈ, ਇਕੋਨਮੀ ਹੈ, ਕਲਾਈਮੇਟ ਕੰਸਰਨਸ ਹਨ, ਹੈਲਥ ਕੇਅਰ ਹੈ, ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਫੋਰਨ ਰਿਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਤੇ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਦੇ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਵੀ ਡਿਸਕਸ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾਣਗੇ। So today we are joined by Kamal Khera, incumbent member parliament from Liberal Party. We have Navjeet Kaur, Democratic Party. We have Roger Sampson from People's Party of Canada and Murali Lal from Conservative Party. Welcome all.
Thank you. Thank you.
So today's important rules. The debate questions will be in English. Candidate can answer in English, Punjabi, Hindi, Urdu if they wish. There will be 5 segments of 11 minutes and after each segment, there will be a break. Each candidate will get 1.5 minutes to speak. Rebuttals will be allotted 45 seconds. Rebuttals will be permitted if a candidate or his party is challenged by another candidate. A reminder bell will ring when candidate has 5 seconds of speaking time remaining. The host reserves the right to interrupt candidate who surpass their allotted time. Candidates will focus on precise questions asked by the host. If a candidate strays off topic, the host will have the right to cut them off. In the last segment, each candidate can ask one question to a single candidate of his or her choice. If a candidate chooses not to ask questions, host can ask questions to any candidate if time permits. Candidate will be respectful and cordial to one another. To the host, they will also respect the given time. No derogatory language will be allowed during the debate. Now I request my co-host Dev Kapil to start the debate. He will start with immigration issues. Before he starts the questions, please watch this video.
You've seen the video. As you know, immigration is extremely important for Canada. We need immigration to expand the country. Immigration decisions made at the federal level affect provinces, municipalities, because they have to deal with the consequences of those decisions. Brampton is facing a major problem due to immigration decisions made at the federal level. The federal funding for student housing and infrastructure has been lacking for Brampton. Brampton taxpayers are receiving at the receiving end so our country can benefit and prosper. What steps, so the question is for all the candidates, what steps will you or your party take if elected to resolve funding for infrastructure and housing crisis for students that Brampton has due to this immigration? Furthermore, what steps or strategies will you implement as soon as possible to divert the immigration so the province and municipalities that can take control of the crisis which we have in Brampton at the moment? So why don't we start with Kamal? Welcome.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. I just want to say before I begin, I just have to say it's been an honor and a privilege to serve the constituents of Brampton West for the past 4 years, and I look forward to continue serving you for the next 4 years. You talked about immigration. I mean, immigration is key to our democracy. Immigration is what has built not just Brampton, it has built our country. And I think Liberal Party of Canada stands strongly in strong immigration policies. We're all immigrants here, right here in this room. Most of the people that are running this studio are immigrants, and that's the strength of our immigration system. When it comes to immigration, family reunification is key. for Brampton. And that's something that I've been fighting for the last 4 years. Whether it is ensuring that we're not just ensuring that parents and families are reuniting. As you know, there used to be 5,000 applications that the Conservative government, under the previous Conservative government, that used to come in through parents and grandparents grandparents sponsorship. We not only just doubled it, we actually quadrupled it to 20,000 applications. ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਸਾਡੇ constituents ਦੀ what the benefit is bringing actually ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ parents ਤੇ grandparents. ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੋ spousal sponsorship ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ, you know, under the previous Harper Conservative government, it used to take more than 2 years to bring a spousal from another country to this country. You know, under our government, most of the cases, spousal cases, are actually done within 12 months. Whether it is ensuring that we're finding support for our immigration, making sure that we're tackling immigration.
Time is up. Murari?
Good morning, everyone. A Conservative government will work immediately to restore the fairness, order, and compassion of our immigration system. Where Ms. Kamal say right now that Harper government was lacking in that. So the Harper government was the government for immigration where the previous Liberal government waiting time was 6 to 7 years of still under federal category. But the Harper government was able to do it, that express increase and all the refined immigration system, so more people came to this beautiful country. We have committed to setting immigration labels consistent with what is Canada's best interest. That number may change every year to reflect what Canada needs and who needs Canada. As a first generation immigrant myself, I know the difficulties and challenges that new Canadians face when coming to Canada. You will have a friend in Brampton West, and when we talk about immigration, now under the Liberal governments, thousands and thousands illegal cross-border, thousands and thousands immigration without security check came to this country. I don't understand the Liberal policies, what they are thinking about immigration. The most immigration was messed up during Liberals' time. We have seen the videos earlier. So many beggars, so many people are begging on streets and the corners of the streets of Brampton, especially Brampton West. I've seen myself. It is not acceptable at all.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Navjeet Kaur. I'm your NDP candidate from Brampton West, and thank you for having us here. And definitely, you know, Canada is a nation, it's a welcoming nation, and people look at Canada as a beacon of hope. Now, the Liberals have neglected these services to our students. We just saw in the videos that our students are having problems. And the thing is, we have to actually think about these problems. We're being distracted from the real reasons why our everyday Canadians are struggling. And we are struggling because the federal government has failed to implement policies to uplift our everyday Canadians. So we have to focus on affordable housing. We have to focus on fixing our healthcare crisis. And we have to make sure that we're making life affordable for everyday Canadians. And that's what NDP is doing. We're going to work for our everyday Canadians.
Okay.
Hi, this is Roger Sampson with People's Party of Canada. So what I want to say is we need to have economic immigrants. Yes, we are all immigrants in this room and in Canada, but we need to make sure that we have economic immigrants coming to Canada. Right now, based on our policy, we are only getting 26% of economic immigrants that are adding value back into this society. So 76% are non-economic immigrants, and this is where the family reunification program comes in, because when we get the family under the people who are coming, the family reunification program, what happens is there is a cost and it takes a toll on the society. At the same time, having a large number of immigrants come to Canada is causing an increase in homelessness. And it is a big problem, and that's why we are seeing in the pictures that people are asking and begging for money. Because our society, our Canadian economic, is not ready to take on and then, you know, put them in the society. And this is what's causing all this issue. In Brampton alone, there are 973 registered homeless with regenerated program. What are we doing? We put 50 families in the hotel. However, we got our homeless people living on the streets, getting $100 street allowance. So this is the problem. And then it comes to housing crisis as well, because it is getting expensive due to inflation and everything, and we can't do this.
Roger जी, इमिग्रेशन के बारे गलबात जारी रहेगी. मिस खैरा आल्सो कुछ कहना चाहते हैं, लेकिन ਅਸੀਂ जा रहे हैं एक कमर्शियल ब्रेक पे. ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ ਟੈਲੀਵਿਜ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਿਰ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਔਰ ਮਸਲਾ ਡਿਸਕਸ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਮੈਟਰਸ ਔਰ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟਸ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਰੱਖ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਹਨ ਪਰ ਹੁਣ ਡਿਸਕਸ਼ਨ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਮਿਸ ਕਮਲ ਖੈਰਾ ਰਿਬਟਲ 'ਚ ਕੁਝ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਨ
Bilkul ji, thank you so much. And I think before anything else, I think we have to get the facts in order. And the fact of the matter is, it was under the previous Conservative government that they gutted funding from CBSA. Completely. It was $400 million that they completely gutted under the previous Harper government. We actually reinstated making sure our borders have sufficient funding, making sure that they have all the resources that they need to make sure that everyone that's coming through our borders is actually their security checks that are done. So there's a lot of, and there's no such thing as illegal immigrants. And I would like to ask my colleague to repeat that because Canada has signed an international treaty that there's no such thing as illegal immigrants. They are irregular immigrants. And when it comes to the housing strategy, which I think I want to talk a little bit about, is the fact that our government introduced $40 billion.
We'll talk about the housing. That's an independent topic. So my co-host Kapil ji has some follow-up questions on the immigration. Kapil ji.
So I have a follow-up question. My question is, I've asked for, in my question, I asked for solutions as to what will you guys do to fix the problem Brampton has. As you can see, it has an issue. We have families living 25 people living in one house in the basement for students because there is not proper infrastructure funding there. We have crime is increasing as a result of that. The students are very important. I love these students. I think it's a blood stream for Canada, quite frankly. However, we need solutions. So could you please tell what your recommendations over the next 4 years going to be? What you've done in the past 4 years.
So it will be 45 seconds to follow-up questions, please.
Yes, you can start.
Okay, well, I can tell you a little bit about this. First and foremost, we have a $40 billion housing national plan that was announced back in 2016. And part of that is coming to Brampton as well. Whether you're making sure that, when you talk about housing strategy, it's not just federal government's responsibility. We are working really closely with Sheridan College. We're working really closely with our municipal partners because we need a comprehensive plan. And I think we're going down a very slippery slope when we talk about students and we, relate that to criminality or increase of crime in the country. Students are benefiting this country. We need more of them. They are not just good for economy, they're good for Canada. They're good people to have permanent residency because they've actually studied here. So I think we're going down a very slippery slope when we make those comments. But when it comes to working together, we have really good relationship with Sheridan College and the municipal government to address this issue.
Thank you.
Any candidate want to add to this?
Yes, as my colleagues say, $40 billion. So that was on paper in 2016. Nothing has been done for Brampton or Brampton West. We do not see any improvement, any housing or affordable homes plan into the Brampton. No. That is a complete false promise of Liberals in 2016 for $40 billion.
Roger, anything you want to add?
Well, all I want to add to that is, yes, we need the students. However, we also need to make sure that we integrate the students properly as well. In Sheridan College, we have a problem when it comes to sexual harassment because that has been brought up because when students are coming here, they are not screened properly and they are causing those issues. What are we doing about it? We need to make sure, and also, what about students working and then taking fairly jobs and everything, and that's what affecting our market, and that's why 60% of Brampton work outside because we are unable to sustain all these people. So we need to figure out and come up with strategies so we can not only integrate students but also other people who are living in Brampton so they have a better place to live and work at home and not driving.
Final words with Navjeet.
Definitely, yeah. We need to implement services for students to help them strive in Brampton. And I think, the federal government needs to take leadership on the causes of violence. Violence is caused by poverty, racial discrimination, huge gaps in mental health, lack of affordability, lack of good paying jobs. And that's what we need to focus on, making sure all these issues are addressed so they can strive in our community.
Thank you. So questions ਦਾ ਸਿਲਸਿਲਾ ਜਾਰੀ ਰਹੇਗਾ ਔਰ ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ next topic ਤੇ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, that is foreign relations, and I will start the question with the Murari Lal Thakral, the Conservative candidate. So there was a time when Canada was one of the most respected country in the world. Today, Canada has bitter relations with China, strained relations with Saudi Arabia. We have cold relations with India, and we have name calling with USA. And leader of Conservative Party, Andrew Scheer, is not allowed to go to Russia. So question is, today we are at a crossroad. how your party will do differently in comparison to liberals as they did to make Canadian relations better and make Canada a respected country in the world?
First of all, thanks for this question. The Liberal government, especially Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, completely failed to maintain the relations not only with US, India or any other country, but each and every country where Prime Minister Trudeau tried to build the relations, he spoiled the relations. And today foreign policies are we are lacking in foreign policies relationship. That is with US, with Russia, with Japan, China, India, you name any country. That was a complete failure of Liberal government, total complete failure of Justin Trudeau, that he could not, even the NAFTA, we are talking about NAFTA, it was a complete setback for Canada while negotiating with NAFTA. The NAFTA agreement was one-sided by Donald Trump because the lacking of our leadership at international level. So the last visit of Andrew Scheer to India was great, and there is a promise that India and Canada will have very good relationship, and Andrew Scheer, our leader, will bring all the relations, the better relations we have made during the Liberal government will be brought back to the track. So we will bring country in foreign relations back to the track.
Thank you, Murari. Now, Roger, so your take on this issue.
So, first of all, what I want to say is, why do we always talk about India and Canada relationship, right? We have other countries to talk about. We have a bully next door to us, Donald Trump. And only leader who can actually stand there and defend that, I believe, is...
Roger, I'm going to cut you short
Yes.
here for just 1 second. I apology. In our question, we have talked about US, we have talked about Saudi Arabia, we have talked about Russia, we have talked about India, China.
Okay.
So we are not just talking about...
Yes, but my colleague, right? So what we need to do is we need to build better relations with everyone. Even in the trip to India, there was a mockery, right? So right now, our leader, Prime Minister, when he took a trip to India, what happened, right? I blame the cabinet that went with him, and how come the cabinet allowed all that mockery to take place and we were laughed at a world stage? This is not the right way of doing things. And then Trump used us with the Hawaii deal, because when he wanted to stop the trade with China, get into a trade war, what happened was Trump used Trudeau to detain the Hawaii executive, so we cannot have the foreign relation and do the trade with China, because definitely China was going to come to us for trade when the US was having a trade war. And this is where I believe that there's a lack of leadership in our country, and this needs to be fixed.
Thank you. Thank you. Navjeet.
Definitely, regarding foreign relations, regardless of what country we're talking about, we should have good foreign relationships. I think that's really, Canada has been a champion for that. And Jagmeet Singh, our leader, has always been advocating for human rights and also being, advocate for our foreign relations. We want to improve our economy, so that's going to help our everyday Canadians, and that's what Jagmeet Singh, our leader, wants to do. So regardless of any relationship we have, we're going to have good relations with every country so we can improve Canada. That's our goal, making sure every Canadian can make life affordable and leaving no Canadian behind at the same time. But and also Jagmeet Singh was the first leader to talk about the events in Kashmir. That's a human rights issue, but at the same time we're condemning violence. So working with countries, but also bringing issues such as human rights and educating our countries with that. I think that's wonderful.
Thank you, Navjeet. And now we have the Liberal incumbent MP, Ms. Kara. Ms. Kara.
Reality is, more than ever, Canada is relevant. Canada is relevant around the world. And I would say under our leadership, under the leadership of our Prime Minister, Canada has signed 3 trade agreements, whether it is CETA, whether it is CPTPP, whether it is a NAFTA. So right now, Canada is the only country in the G7 that has a trade agreement with every other G7 country. So when you talk about trade relations, we're actually advantaged there because Canada right now has 2/3 of the global economy, export market, right at the palm of our hands. You know what that's good for? It's not just good for middle-class Canadian jobs right here in Canada. It's good for middle-class jobs around the world as well. And whether it comes to standing up for human rights, whether it comes to standing up for rule of law, Canada has been a beacon of hope. And I can tell you, whether Canada's international assistance policy, feminist international assistance policy, that is working to ensure that we're empowering women and girls around the world, because that's what we stand for, and that's what I'm extremely proud of the work that we've been able to do on the world stage.
Thank you. So there is a follow-up question with the foreign relations, and that question will continue, but we are going for a commercial break. Welcome back. So today you're watching the debate between the candidates of Brampton West riding, and we were talking about the foreign relations. So now Mr. Murari, he talked about that Mr. Andrew Scheer went to India and he was given a lot of respect. And in the last couple of months, a lot of discussion has taken place because of the statements by the former Prime Minister of Canada, Stephen Harper. So I'm bringing that issue. And if we look at Mr. Jagmeet Singh, he's also was denied visa to go to India. So as an Indo-Canadian community, which is a big number and which is our major audience here, we'd like to ask all the candidates, what's your stand on United India, or India should be divided, having different states and different countries? So I'll start with Mr. Murali.
Thank you. When we are talking about divided India and united India, India is a republic country. India is united and will remain united as per information from media and worldwide, the world leaders. India cannot be divided by any foreign authority or foreign agency. So let us not talk about India, because we are talking about the general election 2019 Canada.
Mr. Murari, I will have to differ with you, because the reason is whenever international relations comes into play, India is one of the important countries like America, China. So we have to discuss. So why not we clear our stand to the viewers that do you stand for or do you stand for United India?
We, being conservatives, we stand for United India.
That's it. So, Mr. Roger Simpson, what's your stand?
Well, I just believe that we need to have a good, healthy relationship with India, and I don't stand for anything except inclusive Canada.
Okay, Navjeet Kaur.
Yes, we respect everyone's right for self-determination, which is in the UN Charter's rights. And, we respect all these decisions. If it's a human rights issues, we condemn violence at the same time. That's simple as that.
Ms. Kaur.
Canada's long-standing, our long-standing decision has always been a united India when it comes to that. But when it comes to freedom of speech, when it comes to freedom of expression, that is within our Charter of Rights and Freedom, and we will always, whether it talks about human rights, we will always talk about those at any stage, at the international stage that we get.
That India and Canada should work together as the strong friends at international level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we move to the next topic, and that is called healthcare and pharmacare. And my co-host, Dev Kapilji, will be asking questions.
As you know, Brampton has been extremely underfunded with respect to hospitals and beds. It's a major issue for each and every single Bramptonians. Our hospitals are running at 3 times the speed at a normal hospital anywhere in Canada. Brampton has less than 1 hospital per 1,000 compared to other cities with almost 3 hospitals per 1,000 of population. What steps will you take with the provincial government to change the huge problem Brampton faces due to the shortage of the hospitals?
Definitely.
Yes, Kamal, go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you for that. One thing I could say is that, one of the reasons I got into politics was because I'm a registered nurse by profession, and I wanted to advocate for better healthcare funding for Brampton. I've worked at the Brampton City Hospital, and I can tell you that, yes, we have been underfunded by the provincial government in the past year. But I think it's important to understand is, as someone that has served as the parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Health, when we signed the health accord with Ontario, we actually gave more money than ever before in the last 10 years when it came to signing that agreement. So Ontario actually got more money in the last 10 years than they did under the previous government. We actually gave them more money. Also making sure that when we signed the health accord, we made sure that we invested in mental health, additional money for mental health, and we made sure that we want to make sure that people are actually staying at their homes, and making sure that we're funding programs such as making sure people are staying active, so people don't have to go to the hospital as well. So those are things that we have been advocating for, and I think there's also a need in the third hospital in Brampton, and we have been advocating for that for the last 3 years with the provincial government. But people have to understand is the issues at hand is under the provincial government, and the cuts that Doug Ford and the Conservative government has been making, whether it is our healthcare, whether it is our education, we will see impacts of that in Brampton. But let me tell you, as someone that has been championing healthcare since the day I got elected, we will continue to make sure that we fight the province to make sure we get our fair share of funding to have a third hospital in Brampton.
The question I was asking was, what steps will you take with the provincial government to change the huge problems? What strategies would federal government use to work with the provincial government so Brampton does get the hospital it requires?
Back
Yes,
to me
please.
again?
Back to you, please.
Well, yeah, of course. And as I said, I think people have to understand is delivery of healthcare is under the provincial government. So what I have been doing, and I can tell you, I've been speaking openly with our MPPs. I have been speaking openly with the Minister of Health at every level that I get. But you have to understand, the federal government actually gives money to the provincial government in a matter of health accord, and we actually gave more money than ever before. I think it's an ongoing discussions that we are having. I've been speaking with LINs, I have been speaking with people at the hospital to ensure that we move forward in the right way, and so that we get a third hospital in Brampton. But we have to make sure we're talking about a federal issue, right? And when you talk about, it's unfortunate because I believe the leader of the NDP thinks that it's he's running as an MPP because you can't make fake promises. Because when it comes to the delivery of healthcare, it is under the provincial government.
Navjeet?
Definitely, there's a healthcare crisis in Brampton and people are struggling. We have one hospital for 600,000 people, probably even more, and that's just not good enough. We had 4 years of the Liberal government. We had 5 MPs, 5 of them were elected Liberals with the federal government. That means they should have been our shining star. They should have had the strongest voice breath. They have failed us. They promised they were going to fix our healthcare system, but they didn't. We've been neglected. And I've worked at the Brampton Civic Hospital. Our healthcare professionals are working so hard to provide patient care, but they're lacking the funding and support that we need. And Jagmeet Singh, he did announce that we're going to bring a new hospital and we're going to expand Peel Memorial. It's not a broken promise. Unlike the Liberals have had broken promises. We've never had a chance to actually, be the voice. We're going to be the voice. And Jagmeet Singh, we're going to work with our provincials and we're going to be the voice for Brampton and make sure that we have a say, actually being a voice and making sure we're heard. And I think that's what the main thing is. And also, obviously it is a provincial issue, but at the federal level, we can provide those fundings and make sure we allocate those fundings to another hospital. And I think that's so important. It's frustrating for parents, family members who go to the hospital. You have long emergency wait times. You have overcrowded hallways. You have children that you are watching your children not being able to breathe and suffering, and it's devastating. As a parent, I just definitely we need to work on it.
Thank you.
So,
Rogers.
our policy states that we want to move from the transfer cash system to the point system from federal level to provincial level, and we want to make sure that provinces are able to take care of it to reduce wait times. This would happen when we cut off the GST, because the total collection of GST right now federally is about $40 billion, and we want the provinces to keep that GST and fund the hospital. And that's why what the issues we are having is two government fighting with each other will not happen, and people will know which government to go to and talk to and say why our healthcare is not taken care of. And that's one of the things we want to do. Also, I'm involved with the local hospital as well, fundraising. My question would be, if we are championing and having 5 Liberals Liberals are the ones who are giving money, 5 Liberals in Brampton, why Brampton did not get its fair share? Mm-hmm. And Jagmeet Singh announcing a hospital coming to Brampton, running from BC, leader of the federal party, and he's announcing a hospital in Brampton. So I don't see that.
Thank you.
Ravi?
Good to know that our incumbent is registered nurse, but she lost the voice in Parliament. She lost the voice when the Kathleen Wynne was 3 years, when our incumbent was 3 years in federal. and nothing was done during that Kathleen Wayne. We are talking about Duckford. Duckford is today. What about the past 3 years? What you guys were doing? I don't understand. Brampton Hospital is the least funded hospital of Ontario. If federal government is giving more money to province for the hospital, so why it is not given? Why the voice was lost? Why it was not represented? Why you do not raise this question in Parliament during 4 years of Liberal government? And why you did not ask Kathleen Wayne or Doug Ford, whosoever was the premier at the time? The reality is that our incumbent failed completely to bring the proper funding for hospital, and this hospital remained like waiting time 4 to 5 hours during emergency, which is not acceptable at all. We need our government will work with 3 levels of government. There's a municipal, federal, and provincial, and we will work. What the Bramptonians need, we will do that. That's our commitment.
Healthcare is a very important issue, and we will continue this discussion after a break. So we are going for a break. We'll come back. Prime election program with आप एक बार फिर निगा स्वागत, and we are having a debate with the candidates of Brampton West, and the issue of Brampton is definitely the healthcare, the hospital, and there is a lot of hot discussion going on, and there are a lot of candidates who want to do a rebuttal, and the first chance I give to Ms. Kamal Khera, who is incumbent member parliament.
Thank you for that. And with all due respect to my colleagues, again, I think I would like to reiterate, as someone that has worked here at Brampton City Hospital, someone that continues to work and be a nurse, and that's something that I take with pride. And I can tell you that I have advocated to ensure that we actually, when healthcare transfer happens, that Ontario got more money than ever before in the last 10 years. Whether it is ensuring that we move forward with making sure that we're investing in mental health, but ensuring that we're moving forward and investing in home care and palliative care, things that are so needed in our community. Whether we're the only government that has an actual plan to move forward with the pharmacare program to make sure that no Canadian has to decide between putting food in front of the table or medication. I think we're the only government that has worked extremely hard to make sure that Canadians every day have the support that they need when it comes to their health care.
Thank you. Roger also wanted to say something.
Yeah, so what I wanted to say is, first thing, federal have failed so far. Secondly, Conservatives, I don't think anything's going to happen, because right now, under the Ford government, a year ago, the promise was there will be no patients in the hallways. However, we have seen the longest wait time, 16 hours, in the hallways in Toronto. So I don't think they're going to address that issue as well. And when it comes, also, the reason we have so much burden on it is, I'm just going to go back to family reunification program, because anybody, for example, comes 65 years of age or older, right? They have heart problem, and for example, they need heart surgery and knee replacement. That costs at least $200,000 plus other medication. So we need to make sure that we have correct policies in place to ensure we can take the burden off our healthcare and give to the Canadians who deserve the most.
Thank you.
The Liberals' pharmacare plan was introduced in 1997, again in 2004. What happened? So all Liberals promised since 1997, 2004, 2015 remain on books only. It was not executed at all. Bramptonians left behind as usual during the Liberal government. Therefore, we don't trust on Liberals. They will do anything more. And since my friend say she's a registered nurse and she raised the voice, but the voice was not heard by Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau neglected own member of parliament voice in parliament. It was surprising and shocking that Justin Trudeau does not care about their own voice of own MP.
You know, Jagmeet Singh has a proven record in Brampton, and he's been fighting for people. And he used his voice to advocate for Brampton. He's bringing another hospital in Brampton. And I think it's wrong for people to point fingers at him when he's trying to be the voice for Brampton. And he's trying to make a change, and I think that's not wrong. We're going to make a change, and the Liberals have failed us. So where has that gotten us? Definitely.
We need an all-inclusive Canadian leader, not a party leader who's just going to represent one specific riding.
Okay. All right.
Just a follow-up question. You made a statement that Jagmeet Singh is bringing a hospital in Brampton.
Yeah.
As a federal, at the federal level, they don't have jurisdiction over Ontario.
Definitely, it's a provincial issue.
So how does he plan to do that?
Definitely, it's a provincial issue, but the federal government provides funding for the provincial issues. Provincial constituents. So, we're going to have the voice for Brampton, making sure that we're pushing forward because we're lacking a hospital, and that's what everyone needs in Brampton right now.
So I have a follow-up question on health and pharmacare. Jagmeet Singh, the NDP leader, said that people should pay by their health card, not the credit card. He's saying that there should be a head-to-toe coverage, eye coverage, and other coverages. What do you think as an incumbent member of parliament? Is it possible, or he's just saying because he knows he's not going to come to power?
Well, I won't be able to comment on what someone thinks or not thinks, but I can tell you our plan has been, and I can tell you someone that sat on the health committee that studied pharmacare very extensively for a year. It's someone that, we made sure that we put forward bodies to study how is the best way to make sure that we move forward with the pharmacare program. And I'm proud of the report that came out with Eric Hoskins, who was the head of the report. And I think Liberal government is the only government because we put in things in place, whether it was ensuring that first we're giving more money to the province of Ontario, making sure that we're more money for mental health, preventative care, making sure we're giving more money to ensure that people are staying at home for home care and palliative care. We're the only government that has an actual clear plan how we're going to move forward with the single-payer pharmacare program.
So I have a follow-up question with Mr. Muraila. So Doug Ford is a conservative and he made cuts to the healthcare. Why should people trust conservatives?
First of all, I would like to clear the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario. Doug Ford is a premier, and we are Conservative Party of Canada, federal.
We understand that.
So Doug Ford, because the massive expenditure, the deficit budget, more than $12 billion during 15 years of Liberal government in Ontario, created a mass. Almost the Ontario was at the verge of bankruptcy. So in order to save the Ontario, Doug Ford has taken major steps. So that may be the reason. I'm not sure about it. I don't want to comment, which is not highlighted by federal party. And
Mr. Roger, you want to comment on that?
So all I just want to say is we already have a toll on our system. So currently, Ontario is testing a program under the benefit anybody under the age of 25 get free medication if you're not covered. Over 65 is also covered with health plan. So, and the working class usually have benefits covered with their employer. So that program is testing, but getting a pharmacare, we don't want to put more stress on the government. We have already accumulated $78 billion of debt in the past 4 years. And when it comes to Doug Ford, I just want to say is, I don't think that plan is going to work out because all the promises have been broken already in a year. And then we chose Doug Ford back in the day, thinking he's going to fix the issue. But that issue will never be fixed. I don't think so.
All right. Navjeet, so my question to you is that people say that NDP has never come to power. Mm-hmm. So NDP can make any of the promises. Why should people trust Jagmeet Singh?
Definitely, we go door to door and people are struggling every day. And why is that? We've had the 5 MPs, 5 Liberals in power with the federal government, and they haven't done anything. Brampton needs a change. We need a change now because people are struggling. We have affordable housing. We have people who can't afford prescription drugs. There's so many things that we need to look at that has not changed. And that's why NDPs can be the voice for everyday Canadians. And you've seen the Conservatives and the Liberals have always been for the rich and powerful corporations. And you've seen again that since 1997, they've been promising to bring in universal pharmacare. And how can we trust that they're going to try bringing it in? But the thing is, they're on the big powerful corporation side. They've been getting the backs of big pharma companies.
Ms. Khara, Brampton has only received 5% or 150 million of its shares for infrastructure funding under your watch, compared to cities such as Edmonton that have already received 100%, which is 1.9 billion in the last 4 years. What's the reason behind it?
You're talking about specifically for infrastructure? What I can tell you, for the last 4 years, we've seen under 10 years of Harper era that 10 years of a Conservative government in Brampton got nothing, absolutely nothing. In the last 4 years, your 5 Liberal members of Parliament has delivered, whether it's ensuring that we're investing in public transit. I can tell you, we made this announcement back in 2016 in Brampton West at a standalone facility, close to $23 million for public transit, $32 million for public transit.
Ms. Khara, I'm going to cut you for just 1 second. So whom do you think responsible? Do you think that the mayor was not working with the federal and the provincials to get that money?
What I can tell you is the federal government signed an agreement with the provincial government of $11.2 billion. That was $11.2 billion, which the provincial government under of course, the Doug Ford and the Conservatives, Brampton got zero out of it. But you know what our federal government did in 2019? In 2019, we actually made sure our municipal government is getting the money that they need. So we actually doubled the number of infrastructure top-up that they got. And that made sure, and you know how the council used that? They used that to ensure that they froze all your taxes, property taxes for this year.
My question now goes to Mr. Muralilal. Who do you think was responsible that Brampton didn't get its fair share?
Of course, Member of Parliament. Member of Parliament is the representative in Ottawa for the Bramptonians. If the Liberals MP failed completely to bring the funds to the Brampton, or especially Brampton West, nothing can be done except the change, not move forward, not choose forward. It's time for you to just get ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Murari. Other candidates also, if they want to rebuttal.
Of course, in 2019, Liberals gonna, provide funding because this is the year of election. We must know that. How are we gonna buy some votes? Secondly, what I want to say is, Brampton, on average, we are getting about 17,500 people a year in Brampton. We're not increasing our hospitals or anything like that.
Thank you, Roger. So this is very important for Brampton people, and we are going to continue discussion, but we are having a break, so we are going for a commercial break. प्राइम इलेक्शन प्रोग्राम में एक बार आप जी का फिर निगा स्वागत सो आज ब्रैम्पटन वेस्ट के कैंडिडेट्स की डिस्कशन हो रही है और ब्रैम्पटन का इशू जड़ा है वो काफ़ी पखिया होया है और साडे मैंबर पार्लीमेंट फर्स्ट रिबटल देना चाहते हैं कि कौन रिस्पॉन्सिबल है कि ब्रैम्पटन नू इन्ने साधन नहीं मिले इन प्लेस ऑफ अदर सिटीज़ इन दिस कंट्री
I think what I want to do is I want to set the record straight. First and foremost, I want to say is that our federal government actually signed an agreement with the province of Ontario for $11.2 billion of infrastructure project, which were on hold because of Premier Ford. But even with that, we move forward to ensure that we increase the infrastructure top-up for our municipality. So Brampton got actually double the money that they get straight to municipality because we want to make sure projects go ahead. And the council decided to make sure they use that money to freeze property taxes this year. Number two, I want to talk about when it comes to public transit. I can tell you that we have been investing in that. That's $32 million that were invested by our government that made sure we got 23 new buses. We got 9 electric buses because we additionally attached $10 million. And what I'll tell you, something a need in which you haven't spoken about, it's important, is a university in Brampton, and federal government came in and brought $10 million of money.
I just want to say is when you're asking who's responsible, I believe our current MPs are responsible for that situation because they are unable to forecast what the growing demand is going to be and how we can meet that demand. And to do that, I believe we need someone who can actually understand the growing needs of the city and forecast accordingly. And that's why I believe I'm the right candidate to get the job done.
Thank you.
So as my friends say, a lot of money has given to Brampton, but in reality, these monies are in books because when we see the traffic bumper to bumper highway 410, transportation, infrastructure, even the 23,000 or 23 electrical buses, whatever, we don't know. So we have not seen any development since last 4 years in Brampton. Brampton West is left behind completely. So we don't agree on that. It's all false promise in 2015. And again, another false promise in 2019. So I don't think so. So people should take care this time, vote for your right candidate.
Thank you.
Definitely, it's a dedication and passion we have to bring for Brampton West. We have to make sure that we have a presence in Ottawa, and then our voices are being heard, and that's where we've been lacking. And definitely, we're going to be the voice for Brampton West. Make sure our voices are being heard.
Why don't we start with you, Kamal? You have a question for any of the candidates?
Sure. I have a question from my friend, Mr. Muralilal, and I just want to say, Andrew Scheer has been defending homophobic and racist and sexist remarks and ideologies by his candidates, of course, for the whole campaign. And I think constituents of Brampton West deserve to know where their conservative candidate from Brampton West, sits on this very key issue, whether he supports a woman's right to choose, whether he supports LGBTQ rights, or whether he will ask his leader to publicly confirm that no MP will reopen this debate.
Thank you for your question. First of all, we will go back to essential level in ethics. Ethics Commissioner
not my
report.
question.
So you have
That's
to
not my
answer the
question.
question. You can ask that question to her later on, but you have to answer her question.
So where you question that we believe in multicultural people, we believe the rule of law, so we will respect.
Do you believe in women's right to choose?
Please don't talk
No.
about each other.
Okay.
So, to answer your
do
question.
you want to choose?
Okay.
Do you believe that women has a right to choose?
Thank you
or
for letting
not?
us know that.
So please clarify that, because it may not go wrong. So whatever you think, please clarify it.
No, I think why are we doing this?
Yes.
You already answered.
No.
I think you already answered.
So when I heard it, so I felt probably that whether he wants to answer the question or not. So that's the reason I
I'm
wanted
pretty
to
sure
give a
he answered the
clarification.
question.
I will defend equal rights for all Canadians when it comes to LGBTQ. When it comes to ethical issues, so every person respect their own choices. There is a personal choice of any leader, personal choice of any candidate.
Okay. All right. So any question you want to ask him?
No, I don't want to ask any questions at the moment, because all I'm gonna get is a political answer.
All right. So Navjeet, you want to ask any question to any candidate?
Definitely. Come here, one healthcare professional to another healthcare professional. We have a Brampton healthcare crisis in Brampton, and we have one hospital for 600,000 people. And we have, the Liberal government has failed to fix our healthcare crisis. We are losing lives. There are people struggling. How did you fail to fix our healthcare crisis?
Well, thank you for that question, and I think it's an important one. When you talk about healthcare crisis, I'll be say as a registered nurse, and I respect you as someone that has actually worked at the hospital as well, where we both worked. What I can tell you is the need is there, but the federal government actually moved forward to ensure that we gave more money to the province. But I think it's important to realize the jurisdictional responsibilities. I cannot, as a federal member, say that I will clean your snow, because that is not a jurisdictional responsibility. So I will pose that question back to you. I think the leader of the NDP ran as an MPP, and I think he's getting confused with the jurisdictions that he is saying and promising, misleading Canadians, and I think he needs to come clean. I think we all have to work with different levels of governments to make that happen, and I will continue to be that voice to make that happen for Brampton.
All right, Mr. Murari, you have any question?
Yes, a question for Ms. Kamal Khera.
Yep.
As since last 4 years, we lost the voice of Member of Parliament in Brampton, in Ottawa. Why the Prime Minister is running out of debate? Why is not facing the SNC Lavalin Ethics Commissioner report that affordable? So why $71 billion deficit to country? And I don't understand how Justin Trudeau is going to balance budget in 2009. There's a false promise in 2015 election that he will. So he should understand 2 + 2 is 4, not 6. If you run country in 3 years deficit budget, how you are going to manage balance the budget in the 4th year? So there's a question for you, how the Liberal is going to act. That is the expense, whether good time or bad time of country, but they believe in expenses. So how you are going to be the voice in Ottawa for that?
Thank you.
Well, thank you for that question. What I can tell you is for the last 4 years, one of the first things our government did was actually reduce taxes for the middle class. We introduced Canada Child Benefit that has helped 9 out of 10 families in Brampton West, because we have one of the youngest populations. That's 40,000 families that are getting more money than they did before. And what I can tell you with the investments that we made, Canadians created 1.1 million jobs. Unemployment rate is the lowest it's ever been in 40 years. We're the best country in the G7 to have an economy that is growing and fast. And trust me, that is the fastest and the best way to predict how our economy is looking. Thank you.
In the last municipal election, it was a common knowledge that the previous mayor of Brampton, Linda Jaffrey, was blamed by Liberal MPs for not asking for federal funding for Brampton. So this is a common talk. I don't have any evidence. Why do you, as a member of parliament, interfere in municipal elections and supported previous mayor Linda Jaffrey, who lost the election to Patrick Brown?
What I can tell you, I think who we support, I think goes by that's our political alliances, and I think that's our political ideologies. What I stand for is people of Brampton West, and what I can tell you, we have a robust and a very good professional relationship with our provincial counterparts. Even if it's a different government, I'll have a really good relationship with Mayor Brown and the members of council, and we're all working extremely hard to make sure that we deliver results for Brampton. Actually, just with the last mayor in the last year that he's been here, we made announcements when it comes to universal university in Brampton, the Ryerson University, $10 million that was announced. It was in partnership with the city council. The new the 9 electric buses that we were able to do, we would do with the support of City of Brampton. So I can tell you we have a robust relationship, and we will continue to make sure, because end of the day, it's the people of Brampton that I am committed to, and I'll continue to serve them in the best way possible that I can.
Thank you, Kamal. So we have still a couple of minutes left, and I'll request my co-host Dev Kapilji to ask question on taxes, but please note that you will get only 30 seconds to respond. So all candidates will be allowed 30 seconds and there will be no rebuttals. So Mr. Dev Kapil.
The tax revenue for City of Brampton, about 80% comes from homeowners and 20% comes from the businesses and the rest. This is primarily because there is less businesses in Brampton as compared to other cities. This is due to lack of proper infrastructure for large corporations require to attract employees to the city. To all the candidates, what specific steps will you be bringing to Brampton to take care of this, to get fair share of funding for Brampton for the next 4 years?
What I can say is I think all levels of governments need to work together, whether it's the municipal government, provincial government, and federal government, and that's exactly what we've been able to do in the last 4 years. Of course, Brampton is a city that we need to make sure that we invest more businesses, and that's something that I have been doing as I've been traveling as Parliamentary Secretary to International Development to bring those businesses right here in our city of Brampton.
Navjeet.
Yeah, definitely. We need to be, we need to have our presence here in Ottawa and make sure we're advocating for these businesses, making sure that we're working with our constituents and making sure that we're striving in Brampton.
Thank you. Roger.
And the percentage you mentioned is 80-20 split, and that is the reason why 60% of the Brampton work outside of Brampton, and we have all the streets and streets are busy. And this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I go out and get investments and bring more work in Brampton West, so we have jobs.
Thank you.
I'm committed to bring more industries, more infrastructure to the Brampton West to ensure that our Bramptonians gets everything what they need in our next election. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Prime Asia Television ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਾਚ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ Brampton West Riding ਦੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟਸ ਦੀ ਡਿਸਕਸ਼ਨ। ਅੱਜ 4 ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟਸ ਆਏ, ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕੀਤੇ। ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ ਟੈਲੀਵਿਜ਼ਨ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਦੀ ਨਾ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਵਿਰੋਧ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਸਾਡਾ ਆਬਜੈਕਟਿਵ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਰੂਬਰੂ ਕਰਵਾਈਏ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਸੁਣੋ ਔਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਐਜੂਕੇਟਿਡ डिसीजन मेकिंग कर सको। वोट जिन्हों मर्जी पाओ पर वोट जरूर पाओ। और अज इस प्रोग्राम के अंत में मैं अपने साथी होस्ट देव कपिल जी का खास धन्यवाद करना चाहांगा क्योंकि उन्होंने बहुत ही हेल्प की इस प्रोग्राम की। तुसी वॉच कर रहे हो प्राइम एशिया टेलीविजन, तुहाड़ा अपना तुहाड़े ਲਈ।